Okay, in this video, I'm going to show you how to use the spot healing brush tool to do some very simple corrections. We're not going to go super overboard and crazy, but we're going to do some very simple touch-ups. So first thing I'm going to do is I have my layers panel open. If your layers panel is not open, go up to the windows, go down to layers. So you want to make sure layers is open. Anytime you don't have a panel open that you need, it's under windows. So you're going to open up the layers panel, which is right here. And then we're always going to make a copy. So you couldn't see how I did that. Okay, if you couldn't see how I did that, I literally just dragged it down to this little icon right next to the trash can. That's your layer icon, and you can make copies that way. If you need to delete a layer, you just click and drag down to your trash can. If you want to create a blank layer, you just click on it, and it'll create a blank layer. So first thing, we're just going to have a copy of our image. I'm going to turn off the original. So I have this copy here, so I'm not actually going to destroy the original. Now I don't want to actually work on this image because I don't want to mess this up or alter it. I want to design non-destructively. So I'm going to come down and create a new layer, layer 1. You should probably name your layers. It's a really good habit to get into. So if you double click on the layer, it lights up and you can change the layers. So I'm going to do spot healing, just so I know what's on that layer. So this is where I know all my touch-ups and spot healing is going to be on this layer. So then I'm going to come over to my toolbar over here, and I'm going to come to the spot healing brush. It looks like a little band-aid. Now if you click and hold, there's all the tools underneath it. We want the top one, which is the spot healing brush tool. So if yours looks like something else, make sure you have that one. So right now you'll notice that it says no, it can't do anything, and that's because I'm not selected on a layer. So I'm going to select this layer, and now it will allow me to actually make some edits. So this circle here is your brush tool. You can use the brackets, which are the keys next to the letter P on your keyboard. So those two brackets, the one on the left, which is closest to the letter P, makes your brush smaller. The one on the right makes your brush larger. So I'm going to zoom in. I always highly recommend working zoomed in and close up because then you can see a lot of the imperfections. So simply just by clicking, I have a fairly small brush. I am going to start kind of getting rid of, oops. Oh, okay. So if you notice, it's not actually doing anything, correct? So the reason why it's not doing anything, if you're having this problem, is for a couple reasons. You could have sample all layers may not be selected, mine is, or check your mode. Make sure it's on normal and content aware. Now it will actually make some corrections. So anytime something like that doesn't work the way you want it to, it's usually a setting, and a lot of our settings are up here. So now I'm going to come through and I'm going to kind of clean up some of this. I'm literally just clicking and dragging makes it to a larger area. So I'm kind of reshaping her eyebrows a little bit, getting rid of some of these flyaways. Now you'll notice if you get too close, it sometimes adds some of the details back. So you just have to be careful. So I'm just trying to see, I can get rid of like this little flyaway if I wanted to. Kind of get rid of some of these little fuzzy hairs that she has here. Clean up the eyebrows. You can come in here, clean up all these little spots. Now this is why it's important to work with high-res images. If you're working with very low-res images, you won't actually be able to make as many changes and get as close into the image as you can with a high-res image. So basically, you're going to travel around the entire face and you're going to clean up as much as possible. Now when you're doing these spots here close to the lip. Make sure you don't actually mess up the lip. If you make a mistake, do Control Z and it'll back it up. So try and be controlled with it. Work with a small brush and you'll be fine. So I'm just going to clean up a lot of this. So I'm going to pause this video and I will come back as soon as I've done some more cleanup to show you what I've done. Okay, so I have finished doing some basic touch-up. So here's a before and then after. So as you can see, I touched up around the eyebrows. I got rid of some of those little flyaway hairs. And I just cleaned up a lot of like little spots and stuff she had on her face, okay? So the next thing I'm going to show you is I'm going to actually zoom in to her teeth. So as you can see, she has these very faint little yellow spots on her teeth. So what I'm going to use, I'm actually going to use the healing brush tool. Now what this tool does is it allows us to sample from another location on the image to help us heal. And the reason why I'm going to do that is because if I use the spot healing brush, let's watch what happens. So I put it here on this little yellow spot. It works to a point, but it starts to get weird. So one of the better ways of doing this is grabbing the healing brush tool. Then I'm actually going to hold down the Alt key and I'm going to sample from the white tooth over here. So you hold down Alt and you click. Make sure it says all layers and that it's a sampled and it's normal. So then you'll notice that my brush kind of has this white tint to it. And you'll notice that there's these little crosshairs that move around. So what this does is it's gradually adding a little bit of the sample, the white, on top of that yellow tooth area. So I'm going to do the same over here. So this is very gradual and helps kind of get rid of those little yellow spots. And we kind of do this in a number of areas. Now over here it is starting to pull some of the pink in, but I'm not too worried about that because we're going to kind of whiten the teeth later. So that's how I kind of was able to fix some of the yellow spots very gradually. And so now if we zoom out, it's a little bit clearer. So in the next video, I'm going to show you guys how to do other things like change the eye color, smooth out the skin, but this was simply for spot healing.